So I posted this video on my Instagram earlier this week.
The best thing you can do is put your hands on your hips when you're really tired. Peter Pan, never want to grow up, yuck.
And was absolutely ripped apart in the comments. After looking into the science, I felt a longer video was due in order to explain what is actually the best way to recover during CrossFit workouts. While I was wrong in what I said in the video about it being harder for you to breathe when you're bent over, I think there's a lot more that needs to be taken into consideration when we're talking about CrossFit training and recovering mid-workout. The science that these commenters were pointing to is a study that was done in 2019 with a group of 24 college-age female soccer players. The test was administered by having these girls run on a treadmill for 4 minutes on and 3 minutes of rest for 4 cycles, and they measured their heart rate 1 minute after the exercise was completed. During their rest period, they had the girls stand in one of 2 common recovery positions, the first being hands on your head, and the other was hands on your knees. The testing found that when these girls rested with their hands on their knees, their heart rate actually improved by about 22 beats per minute more than resting with their hands on their head. I'm not here in this video to argue about what the findings of this test showed, but rather I want to explain why, in my opinion, hands on knees is not the best way to recover in every situation and in every sport. Also, the recovery position that I was promoting was hands on hips, not hands on head, but we'll get to that in a minute. The problem with this study, other than it being pretty small, is the fact that it only takes into consideration the physiological outcomes of these recovery positions and not the psychological impact. For running or a sport that predominantly relies on cardiovascular respiratory endurance, yeah, it makes a ton of sense to want to recover with your hands on your knees. But if your sport requires something with your upper body, trying to rest while holding tension through your arms, your shoulders, your upper back is probably not the best way to recover. Another issue with this study is that it's done in a lab in a training environment and not in a sport environment. There's a lot that's going on mentally during any kind of sporting event, and most of the time you're not just thinking about your heart rate, you're thinking about how to beat your opponent. If you're mid-game and you look down the field and you see an opponent looking beat up and fatigued and they have their hands on their knees, they're visibly tired, that can give you the emotional fuel that you need as a competitor to double down and finish the fight, no matter how tired you may be. And on the other side of it, if you're feeling whooped and your opponent looks like they're just having an easy time with it, that can be so psychologically defeating that it makes it much easier for you to want to just give up and not continue to try. My other big reason for saying that hands on hips is better for CrossFit and sport is because it's what they call a power position. A Harvard University study showed that putting your hands on your hips and standing tall with your chin up raises testosterone, lowers cortisol, and improves your confidence. Body language is a huge part of confidence and therefore performance. So in a sports setting, the benefit you may gain from a recovery perspective by putting your hands on your knees, to me, doesn't outweigh the detriment to your confidence or your opponent's ability to gain wind in their sails. The hands on head position extends your thoracic spine and it restricts your respiration. It also puts your diaphragm in a position to work less efficiently. Putting your hands on your knees puts your thoracic spine in a flexed position, and it allows your diaphragm to actually expand a little bit more, and it allows you to expel more CO2 and take in more oxygen. But standing with a neutral spine is how we always breathe, so it won't impact your diaphragm or your lungs function. So the Peter Pan stance, in CrossFit especially, is best for a number of reasons. Regardless of whether you look at CrossFit as a training methodology or as a sport, your opponent is always the clock. It is always the voice in your head telling you to stop, and it's always you against you. Even though the workout is not a physical opponent on a field like in a soccer match or a basketball game, the opponent is the workout in CrossFit. Going back to the study that was done on the treadmill, their heart rate was measured 1 minute after the exercise was completed. And in CrossFit, that never really happens unless you're doing interval training. If you are at the point in a workout where you're having to rest for a full minute, you either went too fast too early or you didn't appropriately scale to allow you to keep moving through the workout. Putting your head down and putting your hands on your knees will start to suck time away from you in the workout because you're losing your focus and you're posturing that the workout is kicking your ass. Once you start breaking down in a CrossFit workout and going to your knees, not only is it harder to stand back up and want to continue, but you'll likely resort to your knees much more frequently going forward. I mean, if you're training running intervals, sure, it makes sense to rest with your hands on your knees instead of on your hips, but that is a pretty specific training stimulus that happens very infrequently in a CrossFit gym. Also, in CrossFit workouts, there's usually some requirement for your upper body, and it's not just your engine or your legs. If you have a workout that is a hard run or row followed by, let's say, a bunch of strict handstand push-ups or a long handstand walk, resting with your hands on your knees is going to put undue tension on your upper body that you need for those handstand push-ups, even though it may give you a benefit of recovering your heart rate by a few beats per minute. One of the beautiful things about CrossFit is that it's a blend of so many things, and that blend means that there's pros and cons to every way that you can attack a workout. Everyone also has their own strengths and weaknesses, and from a sport perspective, it's all about maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses to get the best result that you can in the workout. So while it may be physically better to recover your heart rate with your hands on your knees, that doesn't mean that it's the best in every situation and in every sport. So if you feel really tired in the middle of a CrossFit workout, don't bend over, don't put your hands on your head, don't put your hands on your knees, don't sit down, don't lay on the ground, put your hands on your hips, Peter Pan stance, and show the workout who's boss. But I would love to know what you think in the comments below. Press the like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.